welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video we're going to look at a book called Dinotopia the World Beneath. So this is a very old copy. Normally, once upon a time it had a dust jacket. I think it got destroyed. Now I previously did the first book, which is just plain old Dinotopia, which I have right here. This is the first book. I did a review on that. The author by both is James Gurney. He is actually he's an artist. So that's primarily what these books are. They're fantastic stories, but they're also full of absolutely marvelous artwork. The first story tells the story of Will Dennison and his father Arthur, and how they're shipwrecked on the island of Dinotopia, which is filled with humans and dinosaurs living in harmony. So yes, dinosaurs are still alive. This is the 1860s. So, sorry, computer asking me things. So this is 1867. So this is about I believe it's like 5 or 6 years after the original story takes place. So I'm going to do a double check. Yeah, because the book starts, this one starts in November 10th of 1962. This one starts on March 12th, 1867. So that's 1862, 1867. So at the time of the original story, Will, who's the son, who's about 12. So now it's 62. Yeah, 12, 13. He's about 17. So if you remember and watched the first review of the first book, Will is a Skybix writer. He flies the dinosaurs. See if I can find the picture here. This would have been the dust cover. Would be Will and his Skybix. And yes, there is a scientific name for this thing. I just can't remember what the heck it is. And that's Sirius, I believe is how it's pronounced. It's Cirrus. So I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it. So the story starts off with his father building this mechanical glider and having his son fly it. Only he fails to tell his son that the wings are going to jam, and basically stop working. So it's a flying machine that goes from being able to flap its wings to glide, but Dad fails to tell his son some valuable information. Son nearly dies. Luckily, a friend of his told his Skybix to follow him, so he survives. That's what this picture is. It's like he's landed back where they're living in Waterfall City, which is the center of knowledge in Dinotopia. So that's the beginning of the story. His father isn't entirely angry about the crashed machines, like, my kid's alive. So he has at least occasionally his priorities in place. Now, Arthur's obsessed. Remember, this is when the story takes place. It's the 1860s. It's the dawn of the steam age. It's the age of exploration. He's very much obsessed with the new sciences. This is also the time of Darwin. So this is a different time. So his dad's very much obsessed with chemistry and engineering, and he's in search. In the first book, it ends with him had gone to what they call the world beneath, which is the caves beneath Dinotopia, trying to discover these old legends of basically some magical, wonderful city. So Arthur is still obsessed with that. So that's kind of, he has this key. He remembers this door. Him and Bix, who is I'll show you a picture. She's a Protoceratops from the original book. She's a translator and very much a friend of theirs. So that is Bix. That is the tiny little pink dinosaur right here. They nearly die. That story is not entirely told. But his father found a key, and there was a locked door, and he wants to get behind that door. So essentially his father gets permission to go and find this door. He gets and he has basically what turns out to be half a key. This woman shows up when they go searching for the full key, and she's like, this has been in my family for generations. It belongs to me, and I'm going with you. So remember, these people she's Arthur's age, so they're in their 40s. The other person who comes along with this and is important to the story is Crab here, this guy. He's kind of introduced in the first book. He's not happy on Dinotopia. He would be someone like a gambler or grifter in the real world, so he doesn't really fit in a utopia where he can't, there's no cheating and you can't find any treasure. And part of this world beneath legend is in fact the legend of some massive treasure. So this is kind of partially a treasure hunt story. This is definitely similar. Both the first book and this book are adventure stories in the vein of Journey to the Center of the Earth kind of thing. So that's where it takes kind of inspiration from. So Arthur gets permission. They go off. Crabbe had a submarine. He gambled it away, and then he has to gamble it back. Will is going to, he gets an assignment with his Skyvix to, part of what the Skyvix do is they act as cover when they cross this big place, the big jungle called the Rainy Basin, where Tyrannosaurs, who are not part of their society, still have a tendency to attack. So that's what Will is off doing. So the first part of the story is Arthur, Oleanna, I believe it's Oriana, and Crabbe and Bix going on the submarine, and you can see some stories. They're at a very old tavern. But again, you have the beautiful artwork, and they end up going in the submarine and going down. You see some of the historic, I don't know how they explain this, ancient ocean life. So again, absolutely utterly beautiful art. So they go down here, they get into these caves, and here's another absolutely utterly, they talk about beautiful artwork. So they find into these massive caverns. They're absolutely beautiful. They go behind this door, and they slowly start discovering this massive ruins. Meanwhile, the story jumps back to Will. He's flying cover, looking for Tyrannosaurs. Him and Sylvia, who is a friend of his. So there they are. This is Will and Sylvia here. So they're both about 17. She's from the first story. They run into. She's one of the first humans they interact with, and her and Will are kind of an item. Their young love. They don't really go into it, at least not in this book. It's very much implied, but they're both Skyvix writers. So they're staying in this town. Where are they? Name of the time. Yeah, they're flying above the Rainy Basin and Banaba. I have no idea how to pronounce that, but that's the town, one of the Rainy Basin towns that they're living in, and that's where the convoy that they're protecting is going to go out of. So part of it, they're taking people, they're taking cargo, they're in fact, I'm freaking out Calico here. Sorry, my cat is in here being irritating. She's 12 and fluffy. But nonetheless, back to the story. So that's where Will and Sylvia are. They're flying this convoy, and they're planning to protect the convoy. That's kind of their job. They're Skyvix writers. So on their, essentially the convoy's purpose is to take people and cargo back and forth. And on their way, I think, back, they're trying to find a tree for a medicine of a baby Triceratops who is getting very, very sick. So they have, in some of the photographs, you have this tiny little Triceratops who's very, very sick, and they're trying to find a plant that seems to help. So they are looking for a silicon-rich columite or horsetail tree. So they're looking for this medicine for this tiny little dinosaur, whose grandfather, I believe, is one of the leaders of Dinotopia. So this is like the last of his lineage. They're trying to save this baby dinosaur. So they're on with the convoy, and they're fighting off the Tyrannosaurs who show up. They do see some of these ruins. They're very much Indian inspired in this case. The author of these books worked for National Geographic, did a lot of art for lost kind of civilizations where things were like ruins. So that's where this inspiration comes from. So he was working with anthropologists and archaeologists doing a lot of this. And I believe he was also painting what dinosaurs would look like. I thoroughly understand these books are old. Dinosaurs are known to have feathers, but these books were published in the 90s. So back when they still thought they had schedules. In fact, this one was published in 95. I think Dinotopia was published in, let's see, was it published around the same time? Where on earth is my publishing date on this page? This is irritating. Where's the publishing date? Stupid thing. Dinotopia. 92. 1992. So, again, we still thought dinos were scaly. We now realize they have feathers. Moving on. So, that's what Will is doing. And he's protecting the convoy. You have these, once again, armored dinosaurs and man-eating dinosaurs. Or dinosaur-eating dinosaurs in some cases. So then you jump back to the caves with Arthur and Oriana and Crab and Bix. And they go through these caves, they find these crystals, and it's basically, they realize that this ancient dino civilization had been mining them for some reason. They're called sunstones. So that's kind of where we're getting here. And then they find these machines. There's the picture here. So basically mechanical dinosaurs. You see the art here. Again, he's basically abandoned mechanical dinosaurs, I think. What do they call them exactly? Stutterers. That's what they're calling them, because they're little. Basically, they're controlled by the sunstones. So you have these giant things. So here's a scorpion-looking thing, and I think they have a triceratops. So that is what these things look like. So they find these. They emerge with these sunstones. They're attacked by tyrannosaurs because they come out in the rainy basin. So they join up with this convoy, which is his son Will is protecting. So they get back to the little town with the medicine and the stories of this ancient world, and they have an idea where this treasure is. Now Crab, again, being who he is and being a grifter and a treasure hunter, that's who he is, he realizes where the heck this thing is. So he takes his scorpion thing and goes to find the treasure. So Oriana, Arthur, along with Bix, go after him. And then they run into these creatures. These are not tyrannosaurs. These are, what are they calling them? No, they're not tyrannosaurs. They're something bigger. No, let's see. Bix has to figure out what the heck they are. Let's see. What are they? Italy. Let's see. The Protoceratops. That's what Bix is. These things are bigger. Oh, yes, they're Gigantosaurus. And yes, I think that's an actual thing. They are actually bigger than the T-Rex, the Gigantosaurus. So Gigantosaurus comes. They're guarding this treasure. They're like, you don't mean it's no harm. We're going to kind of let you go have it. And so they come. Here's the giant treasure. This is how it's explained. This is kind of the legend of it, what happened, how essentially it's your standard story. We got too big for our heads and everything flooded. Essentially. It's similar to the story of Atlantis, and I think that's where they take it from. Hello, cat. Cat. We have a calico here. That's Cameron. She's 12. She's cranky, but she wants attention because we have kittens and she doesn't get enough attention in her life. So, moving on to the story. So again, you have a lot of this beautiful art, and it's claimed in this story that places like China and Egypt were influenced by Dinotopia. So, because some people actually escaped at least a little bit. So, moving on. So, essentially you get the entire tale of things sinking, and you have this beautiful city, and everything's kind of sinks. Essentially kind of Atlantis. Everything floods. And then they try to rescue things, and they end up trying to recreate. That's what they find in the world beneath, is they're trying to recreate their laboratories down below, and it just doesn't work. There's just too much fighting, because these are humans, not dinosaurs. Because again, the dinosaurs had left the city because they had no use, because they created electronic dinosaurs. So the robotic ones. But then Crab has found it. He's very crazy. He has the giant ruby stone, which was kind of made people nuts. Again, one of those weird things. I think Crab was already nuts. So he steals Arthur's journals and a bunch of treasure, and he takes his little skivvy thing and tries to go to sea. And Arthur follows him. The Skyvix follow him. These Gigantosaurs are trying to stop him, because essentially he's going to reveal things, or he's going to get himself killed. So Arthur follows him. You see this, it's in the ocean, and eventually Arthur pulls the giant red sunstone out of its socket, and then throws it into the sea. because he doesn't. In the beginning, he wanted to return home in the first book. By the end of the first Dinotopia book, he's perfectly happy in Dinotopia, and particularly by the end of this book. So they're rescued. The machinery sinks. The Sunstone sinks. A lot of the treasure sinks, and Arthur's sketchbook goes off into the waves. Now this connects to the beginning of their first book, where it's found and sitting in a library in the British Museum, I believe. It's in England, which is funny because Arthur is not English, at least not really. He's American. I believe the book says that him and Will ship off from Boston, so that's Massachusetts. So they're American. So it's kind of basically you get the story and you see the ruins. It's just absolutely utterly beautiful art, and essentially Bix gets home. She gets to tell her stories to all the legends of the Dinosaurs expedition, which is what it's called. And the little dinosaur here, he's cured. There he is, down at the bottom, along with Bix and a bunch of other dinosaurs. And then it kind of ends with the fact that Arthur and Oriana get together. So the father of the tale finds a girl, which is kind of sweet. It's very, very beautiful. You almost see castle-like here. It's absolutely utterly beautiful art. And that's kind of the end of the tale of the world beneath. So it's a wonderful kind of, it's a very adventurous story with absolutely utterly phenomenal art. And that's, again, the author's an artist first. So it's a very beautiful adventurous story. It's very, very fun. Both these books are. There is, I think, a couple more. I have to get a hold of them. These are the ones that I've read, and I read when I was a kid that I fell in love with. The beautiful art, the wonderful dino story. I was a dino nut. So both these stories, if your kids are interested in art, if your kids are interested in dinosaurs, or if they're interested in fantasy, if they're interested in anything, these books are fantastic. Just get them. They're wonderful. They're wonderful to have part of your collection. They're beautiful art. You can look at art. You can study the art. You can study the amazing story. You can talk about dinosaurs and what we know about dinosaurs and different civilizations. It's very steampunkish if your kids are kind of into that. Age range for both of these books, any age. I mean, my toddler is somewhat interested. Okay, she's a little small. She might enjoy looking at the pictures, but I try to protect my books from my nearly 2-year-old because otherwise she destroys things, because, you know, toddlers, that's what they do. They destroy things, kind of like cats and kittens. I have this calico in my lap. She's destroyed her number of things. But they're both great books. The World Beneath one, you do need to read the first story, because otherwise the second one doesn't make a lot of sense. You don't get the understanding of Will and Arthur's dynamic, or Arthur and Bix's dynamic of their friendship there. So, and you're not as invested, I think, in the characters. It's a wonderful adventure stories, both of them. The art is beautiful. If you're studying ancient civilizations, this is kind of a good break. A lot of homeschoolers do that, to kind of step away from the rigorousness of studying, to look at the architecture and the influences. And you can look at a lot of different influences from India to Asia to even Europe in a lot of this art and these beautiful depictions. I think there's even South America and Central America influences, particularly in the jungle scenes here. So they're beautiful books. They're wonderful, amazing stories. They're far too long. As I go on. This is what happens when you film at night, because you have a baby and she needs to be sleeping. Yes, I have a sleeping baby. But again, wonderful stories, adventure stories. They're far too long to read at night. And they're also very, very heavy. These are the style of books that you would have sitting on your coffee table. They're heavy. They're heavy coffee table books. So they're going to be, you're tired and these things are far too heavy. But they're great to look at during the day before you go to bed if you want to kind of start reading them bits and pieces. They do read well that way. You can read them in little pieces. They don't actually have chapter books because they're not actually that long. The text is broken up quite a bit with a lot of photographs. These are, again, they're very much designed of what you would find like a travel a travel coffee table book. So you have bits and pieces of the photographs, and you have a lot of script writing where you're looking at different things. I can see if I can find one of those photos where you have different things. So see, you have the big text, and then you have bits and pieces here, and then there are some, I think, sections here where it's just kind of the photographs and not a bunch of text. If I can find one, as I will. But again, they're absolutely, utterly beautiful art. So this is similar. So you have just a lot of photographs and just a few little kind of explanations of some of the different photographs. So, but that is it for this review. If you like my reviews, I do quite a few book reviews. I do some homeschooling stuff. I do some travel stuff. I will get more travel stuff. There's not a lot up right now because this and the Dinotopia original were filmed on May 23rd of 2021. So if you are watching this far in the future, hopefully COVID is gone away. I have been vaccinated as of this video. Both me and my husband have had both of our shots. But this is the end of the COVID-19 pandemic. So, but we'll get traveling when we can, because that's kind of one of the reasons we choose to homeschool. I have a few other things. Mostly it's book reviews. I do some film stuff. I am not going to review the TV show of this. I don't think. I'm going to bother. I saw the first episode, and no. It seemed very authoritarian. They made it like an island outside of time, because they were involving Will Dennison's granddaughter, and it was like 2010 when this thing took place. So again, Will Dennison was like 17 in the 1860s. So yeah, that doesn't work, and there's no implications whatsoever that this island is out of time at all. So in fact, there's very much implications that it's not. But that is it for this review. Thank you.